indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call this meeting to order at 9 a.m. and it's time open up the floor to public comments. Okay, hearing none, seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item number 3. And I'll call on Kate Molinaro to discuss the letter of support for Carlisle events. Kate?
Good morning. I was before you around this time last year, asking for a letter of support for the redevelopment authority's application to the state for redevelopment assistance capital project grant through the Office of the Budget. That application was not successful, and so there's a round again this year, and so we're seeking $750,000 for utility relocation, stormwater, and other infrastructure improvements that Carlisle Events is undertaking on the former IAC site.
Are there any questions for Kate?
I'll just hang on right here.
Okay. Next, Kate and Becky.
Yes, was there a time frame on the letter of support? Or can we
The
do this Monday?
applications, yes, you can do this Monday. The applications are due Wednesday, so you can do this Monday.
Next, Kate and Becky Cole will discuss the Cumberland County Housing Authority consistency with the consolidation plan for fiscal year 2018-19.
So I brought Becky Scholl with us. She's our Housing Choice Voucher Director at the authority. As you know, every year, every 5 years, on behalf of the county, the redevelopment authority prepares the 5-year consolidated plan outlining how the county will allocate and prioritize its CDBG and home resources. And then annually, the housing authority also prepares a similar plan for how we're going to spend the public housing and housing choice voucher dollars. And so this certification that you have there is essentially asserting that that plan, what Becky prepares, is consistent with what we prepared for the county. And so, of course, they identify affordable housing as a priority need. And so the availability of public housing and housing choice voucher dollars is consistent with what the county has identified as a need in the county. And so we're recommending that you approve that certification of consistency with your plan. And that can also take place on Monday.
Sounds good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Next, we'll move on to agenda item number 5, contracts and grants. Agenda items 5, Roman numeral 1, A through D are existing contracts, contract incentives, or addenda with no additional cost or increase to the county. They include the following departments: Aging and Community Services, Claremont Nursing and Rehabilitation Center, Facilities, and Prison. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments or concerns regarding any of the above-mentioned agreements? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to agenda item 5, Roman numeral 2, which consists of new contracts, vendors, services, grants, and contracts with increases and decreases to the county. And begin with calling on Jack Carroll to discuss the agreement with Health Choices. Jack?
Good morning, Commissioners. This is a request to approve an amendment to one of our health choices contracts. This one is our contract with Perform Care. They're the managed care organization that does the day-to-day work for our behavioral health managed care program. And really the point of it is to catch up with amendments that have already been passed to our contract with the Department of Human Services. If you recall, all of the funding for health choices comes from the state government and the federal government through DHS. And so it doesn't involve any county general fund monies at all. But over the past 6 months or so, there have been 3 different amendments to our DHS contract. And we just want to bring the contract with Perform Care in line with and up to date with our contract with the state. As with other health choices contract matters, we had this vetted by Lawrence Tabus, legal counsel that we retained for that purpose, and it's also been reviewed by Solicitor Lebanon. Are there any questions?
Thanks.
Thank you, Jack. Next, I'll call on Sue Carlisle to discuss the MHID agreements for fiscal year 2017-2018 for earlier intervention and 2017-18 intellectual developmental disabilities. Sue?
Thank you. Yes, the first contract is for early intervention. It's pediatric therapy specialist, and it is for an increase of $27,895. And these will be for additional occupational therapy and special instruction services for the children. The contract for the IDD is Keon. Keon is a private transportation service, and it is a renewal of their contract from last year. And currently, it is going to be renewed for $5,466. And just a reminder that these are state dollars from Optel and from ID.
Any questions for Sue?
Good, thank you.
Thank you, Sue.
Yep.
Jody Smith is with us today to discuss the agreement between the Sheriff's Office and TLO TransUnion. Jody?
That's okay. Good morning, Commissioners. We have currently our office holds a contract with TLO TransUnion where we pay for 4 seats at $125 per month. Our contract was renewed September of 2017 for 1 year. WCU also holds a contract with the same company, TransUnion, for 4 seats. So they're paying $125 per seat. Their contract is up in April of 2018. So we have worked with TransUnion to combine the contract for cost savings to the county. So instead of paying $125 per seat, we'll pay $85 per seat per month. So I think it's logical to combine that contract with their additional staff. They have seats that they're adding to get the reduction in costs.
Any
Any
questions?
questions?
Thank you. Thank you, Jody.
Thank you.
Next, Justin Miller will be joining us via video teleconferencing to discuss 2 grants along with agenda item number 6 regarding a letter to the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture. Justin?
Good morning, Commissioners. So the first 2 items are recycling grant. The first one, we recently just purchased a new compost turner for our organics yard waste processing program. We had a grant secured ahead of time that would reimburse us up to 90% of total project costs. The way it worked out, the machine cost $245,988. The grant is actually going to reimburse us $239,805, and we will be going 26,646 in match, but 20,463 of that came from the balance of a previous machine that we bought that was not covered by the grant. So that was a nice benefit. They allowed that. So our out-of-pocket cost is only $6,182.
Any questions?
Any questions on that grant?
Justin, just out of curiosity, do you know how many other counties have a similar arrangement with their municipalities for this compost equipment that's used for composting? Are we unique in that respect?
We are. I'm not aware. There's 2 other counties that their program is not similar to ours. I mean, they have equipment and they may work with a municipality or 2, but they take the equipment there, they run it themselves. Our program is definitely unique.
Yeah, well, it's a great partnership effort, and kudos to you and your staff for doing this and also working with our municipalities.
Thank you. Okay, the second grant is the annual recycling coordinator reimbursement grant. It's a 50% reimbursement of salary, benefits, and expenses from the previous calendar year. So that's a straight 50% match. And the total on that is $34,650.
Any questions? Okay, Justin.
Any questions?
You can move on to the next one.
Okay, my last item So we're working on finalizing the details for our household hazardous waste event in 2018. In the past, we have piggybacked on a Department of Agriculture contract that allows counties to use their hazardous waste contractor to do these events. And by piggybacking, the Department of Ag will pay for disposal of pesticides that are turned in. And this year, they're offering up to $21,500. I need to let the Department of Ag know by March 1st if we intend to do the same piggybacking this year. So I have a letter here that from the board drafted that basically says we do intend to piggyback on your contract and accept the money of up to $21,500.
Any questions?
Sounds good?
Thank you.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you.
Dana Bess is here to discuss an account transfer for Farmland Preservation Program. Dana?
We're requesting to transfer the farmland preservation account to a different branch of Morgan Stanley. We have a government branch that we do business with our other accounts. Currently, it's in a corporate account, and Morgan Stanley actually asked that we transfer it so that because our service will be better. When we have questions and things like that, it's harder for them to get us information. So it's to help with the service to the county for the farmland preservation treasury script.
Any questions for Dana?
That works to our advantage as well as theirs?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you, Dana.
Thanks.
Next, I'll call on Bob Ritter to discuss Form 1449 for CNRC. Bob?
Good morning, Commissioners. This is in regards to our Veterans Affairs Agreement, our VA contract, which comes up for renewal, I believe it is at the end of August. We've had to put together information to meet requirements, to put together a bid for a 5-year contract with the VA. And what you should have in your packet today is the data requested, is our request for bid with the Veterans Administration. And action is required on this, as I do believe it has to go out tomorrow, to them to meet their deadline for bid submissions.
Just as a general question on this, there was a lot of confusion when this was implemented in regards to what the financial impacts would be, positive or negative. And I think there were some indications that the impact wasn't quite what we expected. Do we have a good feel for where this has put us, positive or negative, or nominal, or whatever?
Yeah, Ron from Finance, myself, and Pat Thompson have sat down on a couple of occasions here over the last couple of weeks, and we ran what numbers we have. We're confident that what we're submitting is better than what had been done 3 years ago. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to give us dollar for dollar, but we're confident in that what we're proposing is a lot better than what was in the past.
I haven't been involved at all.
You've not been involved?
Not at all.
No, this has been between Ron, myself, and Pat Thompson.
Okay.
Looking at bed cost, we're looking at bed cost and what the average has been in our returns.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's some questions about what the pharma impacts would be to us, so hopefully all that's in the mix too.
Well, as much as we could, as much data as we had to work with is what we used.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Sure.
Keith, are you involved with the no? For some reason I don't recall it. I was asking Sandy to see if she could find the documentation. Did this have come through with a cover sheet or anything? Because I don't have any recollection of it.
I don't have any.
I think Ron and I, when we did this was a bid. I'm assuming you should see bids as well. This was not a contract, this was a bid for a contract. So whether that makes a difference or not, I don't know.
I don't have any paperwork on it.
Do you want me to walk outside and call Ron?
No, if you don't
Just
mind,
let me get it.
have it contingent approval. Yes. That's what I'm trying to say, exactly.
Okay.
Thank you.
If you want, I'll get a hold of Ron if you like.
I'm sending them an email right now.
Okay, that's fine. And action is required as your signature on the bid. As I said, it needs to be submitted tomorrow.
I'll do that immediately.
So we need a motion
Yes,
to
contingent.
approve contingent on.
Solicitor's review.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
We have motions or second.
Second.
Any questions or comments on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. For agenda item number 9, I'll call on Commissioner Herzl to discuss appointing a chairman to the Ag Land Preservation Board, followed by agenda item number 10, to discuss an appointment to the Ag Land Preservation Board.
Thank you, Sandy. I'll cover both of them then. The Farmland Preservation Board that's meeting last week reorganized, and in the bylaws, there's a requirement that the chairman of the board be appointed by the chairman of the county court of commissioners. As is past practice, what we've done here recently, this is the board is reorganized on an annual basis. As usual, there's been a motion to authorize the chairman of the board, the county commissioners, to appoint the chairman. Anyway, their recommendation to us is for the reappointment of Boyd Weary to continue to serve as a chairman of the Farmland Preservation Board. We had a large vacancy on the Farmland Preservation Board, and the Farmland Preservation Board held interviews with all of the candidates, and 4 outstanding candidates who submitted their interest to serve in this position. At the end of the day, it was a tough choice, but at the end of the day, the board recommended Kate McCraw from Monroe Township. She and her husband own, or just some time ago, purchased a farmhouse in Monroe Township. She's worked farms over the years, and you could tell that she impressed the members of the Ag Board with her passion for the need to preserve farmland, and especially the rich soil. She was interested in, continuing to work on issues relative to soils, and so in any event, they have recommended Kate McCraw. Again, it was a tough choice, but I certainly will be supportive and ask the board to consider appointing Kate McCraw on Monday.
Thank you, Commissioner Herzl. Next is discussion of capital project requests, and I'll call on Christine Bowden, who is joining us via video teleconferencing to discuss a capital project request for the Aging and Community Services Department. Christine?
Good morning. I'm requesting to purchase a new van for Aging and Community Services. Our current van is a 2004 that we are currently having issues with, and we have been told by our internal maintenance department that it probably will not pass inspection, and there are quite a few issues with it, so that's why we're requesting to purchase a new one.
Are there any questions for Christine? You should have their 5-year plan somewhere in your packet.
Yeah, this is the Econoline van, Christine.
Yes.
Okay. The other vehicles seem relatively new.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Thank you, Christine.
Thank you.
Next, I'll call on Brad King, who's also joining us via video teleconferencing to discuss capital project request for CMRC. It's like we lost Brad.
Who's there?
Okay. Guess we'll move on to the liaison reports. I don't think he's gonna come. Okay, so we'll go back up to him when he gets here. We'll move on to the liaison reports. We'll begin with Commissioner DeFelipe.
Thanks, Sandy. One note, library board, which would have met Monday, that meeting was postponed on this coming Monday due to the holiday, so I'll have a report on library for the next go around. Do have a report for the Western Council of Government. The first planning outreach meeting for 2018 will be February 17th. This is the county outreach. It will be held at Dickinson Township office. FEMA's in the process of updating floodplain maps for Cumberland County. Bay Springs School District Board has accepted a bid for $7 million for the Newville Elementary School project. There are a growing number of municipalities within the Western Cog that are adopting resolutions for the Fair Districts PA resolution regarding road redistricting, and the entire Western Cog, I believe, I know it is, the draft is being put together now. That will probably be passed at the next meeting. Gary Martin from Penn Township mentioned that the Exeter Warehouse project on the Maine's property is under construction. Shippensburg, John Epley, who's the borough manager, indicated that Appalachian Brewing Company is getting ready to open an operation there. Also, an alarm company is relocating to Shippensburg from the borough of Lancaster. West Penn Township, the proposed warehouse on the Stay-in-Ball property is going back to the drawing board. They plan to abandon the idea of injection wells and go back to retention wells. And last but certainly not least, it was mentioned about the passing of Bill Jones. He will be missed. The next report I have is the Citizens Advisory Board, which was held February 14th. Just some updates here. There are currently 3 caseworker 2 and 2 caseworker 3 vacancies. As with the past 2 years, there's been a large increase of resignations. Staff morale, however, is much better, and staff in general seem happier. There is currently a roadblock with civil service. They are restructuring and testing. Their restructuring and testing has been shut down. Therefore, there are no available eligible people on the list to select from. Many peer counties are no longer covered by civil service, which means we, Cumberland County, cannot transfer staff from one county to another. There's been a class action lawsuit with the Department of Health. It's a 60-page document filed by 7 youth in Philadelphia, Beaver, and York counties. The special needs youth in placement state that the Department of Health and Safety does not provide appropriate services to meet their needs. There are currently 10 children involved with mental health IDD that do not get services, and parents refuse to have their children returned to their home. When this occurs, CYS gets called and has to find placement, which is paid for by the county. And that's it for children youth services. And Sandy, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Dean. Commissioner Herzog.
Okay, thank you, Sandy. As I mentioned, the Agricultural Land Preservation Board met last Wednesday morning, and much of the meeting was taken up by the interviews with 4 very interested, qualified, and outstanding candidates. One of the candidates we all know was Shireen Farr, who heads up our county's tourist promotion efforts and is COO at CADIC. And following the recommendation of Ms. McCraw, there was a discussion as to whether the Ag Preservation Board might consider an amendment to its bylaws to add a non-voting advisory position for CADIC with an eye toward having Shireen fill that position. Would be very similar to the non-voting advisory liaison positions on the Ag Land Preservation Board at present for the Conservation District and the Penn State Agricultural Extension. There was a feeling, I believe, among all the members of the Ag Board as I monitored the discussion that all of these individuals who had put in their names, they said were some of the best candidates that we've had, and that there's an interest in trying to maintain their involvement in the farmland preservation effort. But I personally think, I hope the Ag Preservation Board moves forward with this. I think that having a Katy representative, along with the Farmland Preservation Board as an advisory capacity, as a liaison capacity would be a good move. And I think Shireen would be excellent in that role. So I certainly will support that. There was also significant discussion and concern voiced at the Ag Preservation Board meeting about what's been in the newspaper, possibility of the Cumberland Valley School District seeking to acquire 116 acres of land zoned agricultural preserve and held in conservation preserve by the National Lands Trust along the Carlisle Pike and Silver Spring Township. And while the school district apparently is considering the use of eminent domain for this acquisition, it's safe to say that the members of our Farmland Preservation Board are very concerned about the loss to development of this 100-plus acre parcel when there may be other parcels available if there's a need for another school in the district. So we'll see how that all goes. And finally, I think we all received an email from Stephanie Williams last week. I'm pleased to report that combined with the county's contribution for farmland preservation in 2018, the county's state match and allocation for 2018 totals $1,755,271, which will allow us to preserve hundreds of additional acres of prime farmland in our county and get us closer to a total of nearly 19,000 acres preserved farmland in perpetuity within the borders of Cumberland County. Housing Redevelopment Authority boards met last Thursday, February 15. The good news is that with the availability of a little more funding authorization from HUD, the freeze of the county's Housing Choice Voucher Rental Assistance Program has been lifted, and the Housing Authority is starting to lease up once again. Overall, however, we're still in an iffy situation on funding, especially with the President's recently proposed budget, and we still have a wait list for many hundreds who would otherwise be eligible if funding were available. But at least the Housing Authority is in a position to begin to provide assistance to some who have been on a waiting list for a long time. The Housing Authority is working with the Shippensburg University School of Social Work in the preparation of a demographic study regarding residents in public family housing and public senior housing in our county. And the project will include a survey of those residents as part of the authority's strategic plan and should be completed in May. The county's Aging Advisory Board met last Friday, February 16. Among other items of discussion was Governor Wolf's proposed budget for fiscal 2018-19. For the most part, senior services, like a lot of other areas of the budget, are level funded, with the exception that there's a proposed $2 million increase in the governor's budget for protective services for senior citizens. As a matter of fact, in our county, there's been an uptick in requests for protective services for older adults, the majority of which are being made by concerned neighbors of older citizens regarding self-neglect. Last month, the county received and responded to 96 protective services requests for older citizens, a record in our county for 1 month. The state is also playing a more active role in monitoring county response to requests for protective services, and our staff came through with flying colors on a recent screening where the state inspected older adult protective services efforts of 11 counties. 8 of those counties got a red or failed in the review. We got a green, which means that we're responding appropriately and doing the job the right way. So kudos to Sandy Guerreri and everybody at the Office of Aging for a good job. One final comment that the governor's proposed budget abandons the proposal that was made a year ago that would have folded the Department of Aging into the human of the Department of Human Services. I think there's still a proposal to consolidate the Department of Health within the Department of Human Services, but the seniors on the Aging Advisory Board delighted to hear the fact that we maintain the independence of the Department of Aging that focuses exclusively on concerns for senior citizens. The Capital Region Council of Governments met Monday night in Hampton Township, and I reported on our county's filing of a lawsuit against drug manufacturers and distributors in an effort to recover some of the taxpayer costs related to our efforts to combat the opioid epidemic and the other steps that we're taking to try to address what is the public health crisis of our time. A number of comments around the table among our municipal partners on the issue, and compliments to us for everything we're doing here in Cumberland County to try to address the problem. CAPCOM is working on a redesign of their website to make it more user-friendly. It was reported that a record number of, Gary, you'll appreciate this, 30 out of 40 municipal members of CAPCOM are now participating in the joint bidding for road materials, chemicals, office supplies, and other products and services. And it was also reported that the Carlisle Army War College is now looking to become an associate member primarily for the cost-saving joint bidding opportunity. And so that's all I have this morning. The Harrisburg Area Transportation Study Coordinating Committee meets tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, so I'll be over in Harrisburg for that meeting. So that's all.
Thank you, Commissioner Drexler. Commissioner Worker.
Okay, I'll just preface it by saying how much I do enjoy hearing about the successes of the council of government, and understand it's not meant to tell me how much better off they are since I'm no longer director there.
Well, you're a big part of the process of moving CAPCOM forward. And,
There's a lot of crap to go around. That's a great organization.
they're doing well.
Just a handful of things. I have the dashboard you get once a month from planning, and came out in color this time, so we'll be able to read it. That was my doing, no one else's, so I'll just go ahead and pass these down. And no real surprises in there, just continued progress on a whole range of issues in Fort Bend County that our planning folks are rapidly pushing forward. We have, I haven't heard if there's a rescheduled date for the planning session that was snowed out. So I'll let you know what's going on with that. Hopefully I'll be in attendance this time. I can guarantee they did not cancel just because I couldn't be there. Let's see, we were all at the EDC board meeting, so there's nothing I have to add to that. And I just wanted to add, I do continue to hear really positive comments from board members there. How pleased they are to see the support of all 3 commissioners and our attendance there on a regular basis. That's a wonderful development in recent years. So, let me do the recycling here since the plan is planning. In addition to what Judd gave us the update on, the reason I asked him how we were doing with the recycling center, and he sent me some numbers. He said that the recycling totals picked back up in February. We had that considerable fall off in January, which was speculated may have been weather related, but didn't know for sure. We had some lousy weather in February too. He said our numbers are much better. January was the slowest month that the recycling centers had so far, and they had averaged about, I believe, 2,274 pounds per every day that they were open in January. In February, that picked up to 3,219 pounds per day. That's, you know, from 2,274 to 3,219. That's pretty significant. So obviously, there's still a need there for the recycling center, and everything else continues to go smoothly there, as far as I know. Of course, I think they're still searching for the coordinator replacement position. He gave me some total numbers here since the inception of the center. Total pounds collected 333,138. Total number of customer visits 3,546. Those are, to me, pretty impressive numbers. So we continue to see the demand is there, the need is there, and our folks continue to do a very good job there from everything I've seen. So,
Gary, just to answer one question on that, is, I know we had an annual or a one-year contract. Do you know, is the contractor still intending to continue, and are we going to be extending?
the last I talked to Judd, he said they were very pleased with the way things were going, and he expected that there would be, he had no guarantees, but when it's ready for bid again, he thought they would be very interested. I can ask him to get an update on that.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious as to when that contract is runs up.
Let me follow
Well,
up.
I mean, it would, yeah, I mean, I heard the same thing, that you know, hopefully, but I mean, I think that's something we need to be concerned about.
Yeah, well, the market changes too, so I mean, they'll be happy with it till the moment that it's not profitable, then they won't be happy with it, so that's to be expected. So let me follow up on the contract question. The recycling board meeting that was supposed to be Monday night was canceled. So there was lack of quorum, so they canceled it. So that's, may not have as much update as I normally would. That's it for recycling. I will follow up on that, so MHID met this week. Just we had an excellent presentation from Robin Bloom on the quality assurance program in each department, and a little summary on that I think I'm just going to pass along to you after we kind of look at that as you see fit. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. We're coming up on that again, so they've adopted their the theme this year is Hold On, Pain Ends, and Hope. So we'll all be getting new T-shirts, I imagine. So get your size, get your order in now. Make sure your size is up to date, because I think I think mine changed. So.
I hope mine didn't go up.
So we'll be hearing more about that as they settle in on that. But and they just made a particular note of the fact that the proposed state budget includes an increase in the MH funding, but it ends up being an offset to the reduction in federal funding. So something to be happy about, but not so happy about, I guess. So that is, they just mentioned about project search too, which of course we're participating in, and have to get regular updates on. So a little bit of discussion about that. Everybody's very pleased. You know, I mentioned that we had met a number of our interns, and what great additions we feel they are. Everybody's pleased as much that that's moved forward. Looking forward to that program continuing. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Alberta. I did see Brad up there, now it's gone again.
Probably good.
I kind of like this version better, though, so.
Sandy, can I add?
There it is.
All right.
There.
I'll go there.
Okay. Brad, you want to go ahead and discuss the capital project request for CNRC?
Thank you. Can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, I hear you now.
Okay. First, I want to apologize for being late. I thought I could squeeze something before I presented. We're asking approval to purchase 20 new beds. Our current beds are 16 to 20 years old. The 16-year-old bed they have these control boxes that we can no longer get, so we cannot repair them. We are just about out of our extra beds. To date, we've purchased 53 of the new beds. We're trying to stick with the same style, so that they all have the built transfer bars. That way we stock parts that, just for one style bed. We purchased 4 in April 14, and then the 39 beds for transitions in September 14, and then 10 last year in August. So the plan is going forward, we'll purchase 20 this year, and we'll budget probably for another 20 next year, depending on how, as they start to fail and then we can't fix them. That'll be dependent on how much we budget going forward. Is there any questions?
Brad, do we have, how much are the 20 beds?
Well, I'm sorry, I actually have an actual quote, $37,601 from our vendor Direct Supply, which is Amerinet pricing. That's who we've been purchasing them from in the past.
Now, is that through co-stars, or does this have to be bid?
Amerinet, yeah, it's one of the special contracts.
It's similar to CoStar's, it's a purchasing consortium.
Okay, so we don't have to bid it then?
No.
Okay.
It's been bid through the process with Amerinet.
Okay. Thanks.
Meeting hold.
You're in demand, Brad.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you.
Thank you, sorry about being late again.
Okay.
Commissioner DeFilippo, did you want to?
Yeah, just wanted to report, it's not really a liaison report, but last summer sometime, the Board of Commissioners recognized the South Mountain Radio Amateur Group for the work that they do. And I presented them a certificate, I forget exactly when, but they invited me back to one of their regular monthly meetings, which is out there at the Public Safety Building. So I was finally able to attend one, which is past Tuesday. And I can tell you that room was full of people in this club who are just gung-ho about what they do. And it's important to recognize these people because in the event we would have a communications blackout, the amateur radios are still able to help to get communication to where it needs to be. So I just wanted to recognize them. Really good group of people.
They are, and they're the backstop when all of this internet comes crashing down. So,
Sound like an old man.
well, I'm still picking the spirit of the 21st century.
Okay.
And if I may, I want to comment, Jim, on the issue you brought up with the McCormick farm. Just want to make clear to everyone, this is not an easement that was granted by the county state ag program, nor was it one granted by the Silver Spring Land Preservation Program. This was an easement that was written by the McCormick family, I believe, back in the 1700s. And that easement, I guess, now is being challenged to see if the land can be taken by eminent domain. From what I understand, it's a complex issue with the people involved here, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens. It's sad, this is a historical piece of property, but I don't want to make additional comment because I don't know all the facts. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner DeFilippo. I would like to report that executive sessions were held on the following days for 2018. February 12th at 9 a.m. and 3 p.m., February 15th at 10 a.m., February 20th at 11 a.m. and 1 p.m., all regarding personnel issues. I would also like to request an executive session to be held directly after this meeting regarding personnel issues. Is there any other business to bring before the Board of Commissioners today?
Commissioners, I had in fact reviewed that document. I apologize. I read so little.
Okay.
Should remember to say.
All right.
It is fine.
It's fine. All right.
Okay. Sandy, also our other business, I'd just like to mention that, we have proceeded with the filing of this lawsuit with special counsel, Napoleon
Skolnick. Nazarene Skolnick.
I had a tough time with the second name. But, and I know Keith has sent around, a spreadsheet where the law firm has come up with certain categories to hopefully have the county compile, our list of areas where we face increased costs. My only request is for all of our department heads that we don't necessarily, if I understood Keith correctly, we don't necessarily have to follow that form. We can actually add-in categories. So I want to make sure that things like the additional costs that we have in children youth services, we don't have a medical examiner, we have a coroner. I think that needs to be changed. But I would like all of our department heads who have a cost that's related to the opioid crisis to put their heads together to make sure we list everything that's related. And that includes, I think we need to put information in there about the opioid intervention court, other court expenses, of course, on prison expenses, and the range of areas, the range of areas where we've seen an increased expense as a result of this opioid epidemic. I would just ask, because we have a lot of experts in this county in different areas, and I would just request that everybody put their heads together and get this form filled out in a comprehensive way, so that the special counsel has all the information pertinent to Cumberland County. Thanks.
Is there any other business to bring before the Board of Commissioners today? Okay, hearing none, we are adjourned.